coaching, training people how to start businesses from home. I absolutely love working from home, working with small business owners and teaching them and equipping them with skills and strategies to grow their business, whether it's a brick and mortar or it's a mom and pop or you're just doing an online business. We're in some very, very unique times right now. And I think a lot of people are really slowing down to become aware of what's going on. Some people are actually have lots of anxiety about it. Some of my friends, like Tim Hunter with Fidelity Bake, is running 1,000,000 miles an hour right now. So I don't know where you are in your journey, but I reached out to a friend of mine who is one of the most sought after champions for business owners on the planet. He is in the National Speakers Hall of Fame. He's a best-selling co-author of the book, The Go-Giver, which has sold over 2 million copies now and been translated over 28 different languages. The American Management Association says that this guy is one of the 30 most influential people in the world. Well, who am I talking about? Talking about Bob Burg. Bob, thank you so much for being here, man.
Hey, thanks, Terry. Always enjoy speaking with you.
Well, you have a wonderful story, and you just give so much to people, and you are a walking, talking go-giver. And if you guys don't know Bob that well, check out his YouTube channel because there's so much content there. It's just ridiculous. So go there, subscribe to it, and you'll get tons of information. But Bob, I want to create this conversation around, the COVID-19. Some people are thriving. Some people have lost their jobs. Some people are out of work and they don't know when they're coming back. And if we're in sales, the question really becomes, is it okay to talk about our products and services when so many people are in turmoil?
Yeah, this is a question that has really been raised a lot. And I think rather than giving a soundbite yes or no, because I don't think those are complete answers, and I don't think those are appropriate answers at this time. I mean, if there was going to be a soundbite answer, it would be, it depends, right?
Right.
And so let's look first at what we're really talking about. If we go back to what selling is in the first place, right? Selling is an exchange of a commodity for commodity. It's a value for value exchange. Somebody purchases a thing for you that they place a certain value on. They want that more than they want the money that they have that they would exchange for it. And as such, you also make a profit. So in an exchange such as this, in a sales exchange, there are two profits: the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them comes away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. Sounds like a good thing to me. Okay. Now, we also look at sales from the salesperson's viewpoint, and it will surprise people that selling from the viewpoint of the salesperson is simply discovering what the other person wants, needs, or desires, and helping them to get it. Okay. So again, the selling process, the sale, is all about the other person, bringing them value in a way that they see it as being of value. So we say, well, then why would selling ever not be good? And I think what happened in the first few weeks of this whole situation is, again, there were a lot of people who, well, at first, like anything, when a horrible situation like this comes up, people go into panic mode. A lot of people, not everyone, and it's not something that we ever suggest. There's never a time to go into panic mode. Should you care? Yes. Should you take precautions? Yes. Should you do everything within your power to understand it, deal with the reality, and then decide how you're going to make the best of it? Absolutely. But that's not the same as panic. Panic by its very nature means your emotions are controlling you. You're not in a position to make wise decisions. So I think there was a big thing for a while where people started to panic, and people started doing some yucky things, but then human nature, the good side, began to take over. Okay, and people started to look for ways to be part of the solution, to look for ways to add value to others, away from the actual selling of a product or service part. Okay, so we had, and so I think for the first couple of weeks it was, well, uh, don't focus on selling your product or service. Instead, look for ways you can just bring value to others that are aside from the actual sale. Well, there were some good reasons for that, because during a panic situation, if you will, or an adjustment phase, if you want to put a more positive spin on it, people weren't buying anything other than what they absolutely had to have,
Toilet
because
paper, right?
they were in survival mode.
Yeah.
And so it was considered by the marketplace to be inappropriate to sell to products and services that weren't something that would be considered absolute necessities. Now, whether right or wrong, and I think good people can agree or disagree with that, that was how the market saw things. And so what happened, and we'll certainly discuss some of the specifics a little later on, but people really found ways to bring immense value to their customers, clients, prospects by reaching out and showing true empathy and concern, and looking for ways to add value through information and other ways that could help. And there wasn't a focus on the selling. Now, on the other hand, you do look at stores. I go into my Publix supermarket a couple of times a week to stock up. I'm certainly glad that they didn't have anything against selling.
Right.
They're certainly not giving away their products or services, nor should they, nor would I expect them to. But I'm sure glad they're selling. Okay, so I think we have to look at those aspects. Now we take it one level deeper, and we say, all right, well, the economy, the only way this economy is ever going to come back after this is through sales,
Right.
Right? Through the exchange of products and services, the exchange of value between people who have a need, want, and desire for that, and those who would rather have the money than the products or what they sell. That's just right. That's the right thing. That's good. So I would certainly like to see that start to be looked at more favorably. I'd like to see it. But I think, though, Terry, that you've also got to take appropriateness, keep
Right.
appropriateness in mind.
Yeah.
And the marketplace and what they're looking at. So when someone says, we say, well, should we, be able to sell at this time? And if someone says, well, no, or yes, what I would suggest instead is that they instead kind of go a little deeper into this and look at it on a more holistic level, and where it serves for selling to take place, it should take place.
Right.
Doesn't serve for selling to take place, then it probably shouldn't take place. And I think we need to, to look at it that way.
Let's talk a little bit more about how do we offer value to customers, clients, prospects, when maybe it's not appropriate based on their situation. And I guess we don't know whether it is or not until we have a conversation. And I think that's probably one of the most important things that we need to be mindful of is what's the relationship with that person that we're talking to.
Exactly. And that's a real key to understanding the appropriateness of it. You've heard me say a million times, probably obnoxiously so, when I say all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust.
Right.
So when the know, like, and trust is there, it probably is appropriate both to sell, if again, depending on your product or service, but at least to be in the conversation.
Right.
With it. When not, and in a situation like this, then you've got to say, well, maybe that's a little different, and maybe the best thing to do is work on the relationship part for right now. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be working, because all the people we're finding a way to bring value to now and creating that relationship, and again, I'm talking in an authentic, genuine way, not as a manipulative way of just the work we put in now is going to pay off down the line. because that's just how it, that's how it goes. And so keep building those relationships. Now, when we say, so how do we do it other than the directly, selling a product or service? Well, it depends. How, in what ways can you bring value to another human being? Now, if there's somebody who is a customer or a client, it's keeping in touch with them. It's letting them know that you're concerned. And it's, if you have a product or service where they currently use this, then you want to make sure they know that you're always there to answer questions, that you're not in any way taking this time off.
Mm-hmm.
They have questions about its usage or about this or any issues or whatever. Don't be thinking, coronavirus, I can't call Bob. No,
Right.
I want you to know you can call me, and right. I want you to know, you know what I'm saying? And right. So it's the assurance we give to someone else. A speaker who I know, Richard Wildman, who works with financial advisors, said, by all means, communicate with your investors, because, you might think, well, they know that at a time like this, when the stock market's going down, so down, don't panic, don't sell your stuff, don't get out of the market. Now is not the time to, right? Well, they don't necessarily know that. Right. And even if they do intellectually know that, we know the emotion typically, guides the decision making, which is not a good thing when emotion guides decision making, but that's what happens. And so you can't assume that they know better, or that even if they do, that they're going to stick. So you want to make sure you reach out to them. You want to make sure to give them the appropriate information. You want to make sure that, that you know what they're thinking. You're not assuming it. And so these are things. Now, Tom Hopkins, who of course, yeah. A great legendary sales trainer and author. He talked about setting up, and this is something that could be done anyway, regardless of the time we're in. But setting up points of reference within the ecosystem of your prospects, customers, and clients to make sure people know who can serve them in certain ways during this, and of course, with people's permission, send out their contact information. So there's all sorts of things we can do that aren't directly related to having to sell the product or service.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that I'm seeing, I have a video agency, and there's quite a few people I'm working with right now that are putting videos together to build that know, like, and trust, to add value that is not only going to serve them now, but when the doors open, like they always have, that's a value that will be there forever and will be an asset that will serve them. But I want to talk a little bit more about, what are some of the creative ways that you've seen maybe out there in the world in terms of how people are doing this?
So, one of my favorite ones, and I just think this is so spectacular what she did. And I'm looking on my Facebook page right now. I usually don't multitask because I'm not good at it. There's a woman by the name of Susan Forde, Forde, Lawson, Lawson. She is a representative with AT&T, and she was speaking with a client of hers, and it was in the afternoon, I guess, and the client was, had the extra kids at home because of this, and trying to keep everybody happy, and it was kind of under some stress. And so, she had a little kid. And so Susan, who bears a striking resemblance to, in the movie, boy, I'm so not with it sometimes. I still haven't seen E.T. I'm a little behind in my movie. Elsa in Frozen. Elsa. Okay. So what she did is she read some children's stories dressed up as Elsa. Okay. So she did it just out of the goodness of her heart to, help out a client who she was. But what happened was it went over so well. It went over so well that word started to get around, and so many people were enjoying it that she actually set up a Facebook page. I'm going to see if I can send this to you somehow, if I can figure out how to do this. Let's see, type something. Here we go. Okay, sent it to you. And and so she's doing these things now every few days. So now all these people, her clients, but also people her clients are recommending, right, are now coming onto her Facebook page a few times a week, couple times a week, and she's dressing up as Elsa and reading children's stories.
That's awesome.
So, what a cool way to find a way to be of value. And so you think of other things that you can do if you have a certain talent. Let's say you have a way of bringing historical stories to life in a fun way. Can you set up for your clients and your customers and your prospects, and of course invite them to bring others? You set up something on a Facebook Live or on a Zoom, some kind of video platform where you relate some fun history to the kids and maybe even to the parents as well. Who knows? Or you hire and I think Richard Wildman said this too, hire a magician to entertain for 30 minutes, or a comedy, a comedian, who clean jokes, of course.
Yeah.
But again, another way. So even though it has nothing to do directly with your product or service, it's you that's bringing this immense value
Right.
to your customers, clients, and prospects.
And that's where you will always be remembered, certainly in a time where there's so much uncertainty, that you were the person that, stepped outside of the norm to bring value. And that's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I appreciate you sharing that. You're not going to dress up or anything like that and give us some entertainment at some point, are you, Bob?
Not my style, but a lot of people...
Hey, maybe you should go down with the dogs. Go do the video with the dogs or something like that, because I know you're a big...
That would be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun. Let's talk about the main thing, the number one thing in your opinion that people really should be doing right now when we're in this time of social distancing or physical distancing or whatever label we want to put on it.
I think there's two things. One is we want to, as much as possible, really focus on what we can do for others, even when it comes to in our neighborhoods. Whether it's checking up on an older person who lives alone, whose kids live 3,000 miles away. Right. I know your dad and mom are right next door, which is wonderful. What a blessing. But there are so many that aren't. And so just to check in and find out if everything's okay. Do they need anything? Can you deliver a home cooked meal to their door and leave it there for them? Can you pick up some? A great friend of mine, Belinda Prine, speaker and author, she had mentioned that in her neighborhood, they've set up a situation where when people go to the store, in the neighborhood, all the windows have either a green sign, which says everything's okay, or if there's a red sign, it means they need something, or they're in trouble, or they just might have to have something picked up or whatever. And now it's actually expanding to some other neighborhoods.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So all these things we can do, but there's something else too. We also need to make sure, Terry, that we keep ourselves up and in the game, because I don't care who you are. I mean, it can get depressing. I mean, we go into these things where we start saying, oh my gosh, what's going to happen, and so forth. That's natural. I don't think avoiding that is the key, because again, I think successful people, they deal in truth. They don't get stuck with truths, but they utilize those truths in order to advance to the next level. And one truth is, as a human being, we need to, we get the junk all around us from the news and from, what have you, and just by very nature of having to be stuck inside if we don't want to be, and so forth. So I think it's important to feed our heads with good information. I've been listening to and rereading Michael Singer's his book, two of his books, I think are just outstanding and something that every single human can benefit from. Maybe the Dalai Lama doesn't need it because he's probably reached total enlightenment. But other than that, I can't think of anyone, least of all myself, who couldn't really benefit from Michael's books. One is called The Untethered Soul. Yep. And the other is The Surrender Experiment. And I have both books, of course, but I've been re-listening to the Untethered Soul. He also has some good online courses. But what I love about specifically what he's talking about is being able to understand you don't have to be in control of what's happening right now, because the fact is we're not in control of what's happening. In fact, we're not in control of a lot of things, but we are in control of ourselves.
Right, right. What are some other books that you have found fascinating or helped you move your personal needle to another level of awareness?
Well, one book I read years ago, which has continued to be a huge addition to my life, it was called The Handbook to Higher Consciousness.
Mm.
It was written by Kenneth Keyes Jr., who actually was the founder of Keyes Real Estate. But it was an absolutely beautiful book. They're hard to find, but you should be able to find them. But he wrote several of them. But the original, The Handbook to Higher Consciousness, is really that first book that taught me about a higher way of living. Then there were people like Vernon Howard, who wrote a series of books. All of them are just amazing when it comes to that. Yet we can, and again, I think Michael Singer's work is just amazing. And yet, we still have to work at it. It's an ongoing process for me.
Yeah.
I catch myself more than before I understood, about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then our friend Randy Gage, who's just a genius when it comes to talking about prosperity.
Randy should, I read every one of his posts. I think I've read every one of his books, his videos online. Yeah, so to me, that's a given, and I think everybody in your network probably already knows about him. So yeah, that would be an absolute.
Yeah. The guy we're talking about again is Randy Gage, Prosperity TV. Check him out on YouTube. He's just he's a mad genius. He's just an amazing person. Great story and great philosopher as well. Bob, I know we want to wrap this up, but I know you're working on a project around success and influence. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we have a series now, a video series that I've been doing through my blog that's called Influence and Success Insights. And we post 2 videos a week. They're usually anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. Sometimes a little bit longer, but usually not. Sometimes I just can't stop talking, I guess, when they go a little long. I try to edit. And so yeah, that's probably the big thing. And then in about a month or so, hopefully my business partner, Kathy Tagenel, and I have produced an online video course called Endless Referrals, The Go-Giver Way.
Oh, wow.
That should hopefully, we've been calling this the never ending project because it's taken longer. Now, of course, reading Michael Singer's books, hopefully I can just be okay with that.
That's right. Now, is that an offshoot of the seminar and workshop you did recently?
Yeah. So we'll have the video course for those who really don't. Although a lot of people can do both, because there's still a difference between actually being there. In the in-person ones, we limit to 25 people. Mm-hmm. It's 2 days, so we go very, very deep into people's their business, and help create their referral system. And of course, everyone who goes to that also gets a copy of the course. So we'll be excited to release that one.
Okay, and when are you releasing that?
I'm going to say. I'm going to say the second week in May.
Awesome. So how do people get on the list to find out when that's going to happen?
If they go to burg.com, B-U-R-G, or they could go to thegogiver.com, but Burg, B-U-R-G, pretty much has everything there. I would just go there and subscribe to be on the list, and you'll also be notified whenever we send out the videos.
Fantastic. Well, Bob, I just want to say thanks so much for spending some of your time today. I know you're a busy man, and for those of you watching, I know you got tremendous value. You probably want to watch this video, share this video, plug into everything that Bob is doing on YouTube and on Burg.com. He is an amazing person. I just love who you are, Bob. I love what you do, but I really love who you are and your core values, your integrity, and your desire to do it right. Any closing thoughts from your perspective, man?
No, I mean, I just wish everybody much success. Stay safe, stay indoors. The same thing we've been hearing, but for good reason. Because
there you go.
So yeah, and I just wish everyone well.
All right. Thanks again, Bob. All right, my friend, there you have it. My name is Terry Petrovic. Plug into everything that Bob has. Get on his list. You definitely want to get his series. He over delivers. If you're a small to mid-sized business owner, you'll love everything that this guy produces. My name is Terry Petrovic. Remember this: you have a choice. Make it a better than terrific day and a prosperous one, because you, yes, you, my friend, absolutely deserve it. Till next time. Bye-bye for now.